The people of the internet convinced me that the new Minions movie is actually really good, so I saw it. Were they right? I am not a fan of Illumination's movies for the most part. Even with the Despicable Me franchise, I think the first two are solid. They're not favorites of mine by any means as far as animated films are concerned. I just think they're solid, cute, heartwarming kids' films. And there was a pretty serious decline after that. The first Minions, I think, is atrocious. The second Minions, actually quite a bit better, but with the main Despicable Me series, 3 and 4 were just getting worse and worse. Despicable Me 4 is like worthless. There is nothing of value in that movie. It was just purely made because they wanted to make another one, because they wanted more money. There was nothing left to tell with those stories or those characters or those jokes. There was nothing left to do, and yet they made it anyway. So I really did not plan on continuing to watch this series. I did not plan on seeing this in a theater, that's for sure. But so many of the earlier reviews were saying, no, actually, this one is shockingly good. It's the best thing Illumination has ever done. It's a love letter to old cinema. And I was hesitant. I didn't see it the first couple days, but I finally gave in because people wouldn't stop hyping it up. I'm like, okay, fine. I will go to a theater and see it for myself. I will be the only person in there of my age who is not accompanied by a very small child. And I do think a lot of people are very much overhyping this, but it is far better than many of the other movies in this franchise and far better than most of what Illumination has done. So this one takes place around 1920, and it involves the Minions getting wrapped up in Hollywood. There's one in particular named James who really likes drawing and he likes storytelling. And he has a Minion friend named Henry who at first is the only one who kind of gets him, who actually likes reading and experiencing his stories. And they have their own little special bond amongst the Minions. And when they end up in Hollywood and they find out what movies are, James wants to make movies and he wants to win an Oscar. And so a couple of the Minions are now focused on doing that. And that's where the movie mostly shines. I like James probably more than I've ever liked an individual Minion. They don't usually stand out much. Sometimes you have some who are like the main Minion or main couple of Minions in one of the movies, but even then, they're mostly interchangeable. James stands out to me more than any other one ever has. He feels like a genuine character. He has this passion for storytelling, and I wanted him to be able to succeed. And then you have Henry, who is just a really good friend. All the Minions just feel like they're together because they're all Minions and that's just how they work. They're a package deal. But with James and Henry, it feels like, no, these guys are actually buds because they get each other. It feels like they have a relationship amongst the Minions that you don't usually get. I was really wondering if critics were praising this film just because it references old movies a lot. And that's probably part of it, but it incorporates it into the movie pretty well. Like, there's a whole chase scene throughout the streets of Los Angeles, and the Minions end up causing all of these accidents and all of this chaos that basically recreates these classic stunts, like the house falling around Buster Keaton, and you have all of these people like they might have literally been Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin and all these classic stars, or just people made to look like them. I don't know what it's actually supposed to be in the canon of the Minions universe, but either way, there's all these references that you're going to get if you're an adult, but if you're a kid and you don't get it, it still works because they're just visual gags. It's just all part of the action that the Minions are causing as they run throughout these streets, so it doesn't feel out of place. Like, the reason we still look back on all of those stunts fondly is because they are such great visual spectacles, and so if a kid is seeing them here for the first time, they might then learn that, oh, those are actually much older. Those originated long ago. And I'm not saying like the 4-year-olds are going to start exploring black and white cinema immediately, but it can be a good jumping off point. Like, if they see it later on down the line, they see where some of these references originated, they might have that spark of like, didn't I see that in that Minions movie? Like, it can be a little bit of a gateway to learning about what so many of the references in this movie are all about. The Minions start doing all these movies where they're just recreating classic Hollywood scenes like the Maltese Falcon and Citizen Kane. And you know what? I think If Orson Welles had had the ability to cast a minion in the main role of that film rather than do it himself, I think he would have. I think that's the vision he always really had. So again, kids can enjoy it because it's just the Minions making movies, and the Minions are having fun and they're colorful, and Pierre Coffin is still really good at doing their voices, all the little sounds that they make, how bouncy and energetic they are. But the adults will actually recognize a lot of the things being referenced. And I actually really like the direction the story takes because the Minions become super popular. They become these big stars. Everybody knows them, everybody loves them, and there's got to be a little bit of a meta to that. But then the talkies are introduced. Films now have sound, and now the Minions lose their jobs because they cannot speak English. Nobody can understand them. So now that they have to talk in the movies, they're out. And not only does that actually make perfect sense for this plot as a Minion story, it's also a good reference to the fact that many stars of those times didn't transition to the talkies very well and did lose their careers. I didn't think we were going to get the Minion version of The Artist, but here we are. And where we end up by the end with James and Henry and the quest to make a movie and win an Oscar actually kind of got to me. Not to the point where I'm in tears or anything, but I had a genuine smile on my face at the end of this movie in a way that I have not had with these characters or this series in a very long time. This movie wraps up in a very heartwarming way, that likes of which we have not seen since the early days of Despicable Me. Like, as a whole, I do not think this movie measures up to things like Toy Story 5 or Hoppers or Zootopia 2 or any of those recent Disney or Pixar efforts. It's not a movie I'm going to watch again. But for what it is, I've seen that it could be so much worse. And it feels like Illumination, in some movies, you could be on the right track, maybe putting a little bit more effort into these things, which is great to see. I didn't expect to end the movie thinking, man, I feel so good for James. Thinking about this minion like he's a real dude and feeling proud of his accomplishments. But that's how I felt. It is, of course, very colorful, very energetic. All of that is there that the kids are going to love, and it never crosses the line into being annoying. At least it didn't for me. All the voice actors are doing a really good job. You got Jesse Eisenberg as this guy who seems to think he's an alien who's going to destroy the Earth, and some of the Minions follow him for a while. Christoph Waltz is a film director that the Minions work with. He's great. Jeff Bridges plays these two twin studio executives, and one of them just sounds like Jeff Bridges always sounds, where he's like, I'm Jeff Bridges, and I talk like this. But the other one was different enough where I was not 100% certain that was him. I thought it was him, but I was like, you know what? He sounds fairly different. That might be somebody else. No, it was him doing both voices, and he was very good. You got Zoe Deutsch, Allison Janney, great cast. I did want a little more from the monsters. The movie really should have been called like Minions Take Hollywood or something, because the monsters are a much smaller part of it. They're only really super relevant near the end. They summon a little baby Cthulhu, voiced by Trey Parker, the second time he has voiced a villain in this franchise, because he was also the voice of the villain in Despicable Me 3. Very different voices, though. This guy's like a little Cartman, basically. And you got a couple other monsters. I wish we could have leaned into them a little bit more. I wish we could have gotten more of them, maybe some more interesting designs. My favorite one was in the trailer. It's this big orange blob with a ton of eyes. The gooiness of this blob, the way it covered everything and consumed everything, was very satisfying in a weird way. And part of that is because the orange goo really reminded me of the inside of the peach from James and the Giant Peach, which I have always thought looked so delicious. I always wanted to eat it. It looks like the tastiest peach of all time, and this monster made me think of that. So I certainly wasn't scared of it. I wanted to eat it. And I do think this movie is more focused than a lot of the bad movies in this franchise are. That's what drives a lot of them down is the fact that the minions got so popular and there got to be so many characters at some point that they all needed to have these subplots. Margot's got to go do this thing, and Edith and Agnes have to go do this thing, and all the minions are going to go do this stuff. And we've got to interrupt the plot because the minions are so popular. And so we have to have random scenes of the minions just doing jokes that don't really have much to do with anything, just to get a bunch of jokes where they say bottom and laugh and the kids will love it. This one is much more focused than that. It keeps the heart in the right place, the way this franchise has not done since the first couple Despicable Me films. But I was not quite as interested in one of the subplots, because you got the main couple minions who want to make a movie and the rest are like, that's not what we do, we're supposed to serve an evil master, so we're going to go do that, and they go find Jesse Eisenberg's character. I was not as interested in that. It is relevant. It comes back into play, into the main plot. Thankfully, it's not a waste of time. But I just was not as interested. I liked the movie making magic, the character journey for James and Henry, and I wanted to see more of that, and the monsters, the things that are really the focus and the heart of the film. And seeing them go off on this side journey is fine, but I'm just not as engaged by that. And they get involved with like the women's rights movement. There's these protests going on where women are trying to get the right to vote. And because Jesse Eisenberg's character falls for one of the women in that group, he starts following them, and now the minions are following him, following them. But there's nothing actually done with that. And the minions supporting women's suffrage is such a funny sentence that I can't believe I just said it, but that is what happens in the film. But like, that's such a crazy thing that you need to do something with it. There needs to be a joke there. Like if they actually started following the women because they, I don't know, the women are technically like protesting against the government and against the law because women can't vote and they want the right to vote. So they could be seen in a weird way as villains. So it would be funny if the minions like genuinely followed them and wanted to help them get the right to vote because they thought they were doing evil, like something like that, where there's a real joke in there. But instead, it's kind of incidental. Like the fact that they're women trying to get the right to vote isn't really relevant. They could have just been a group of any women. It's just such a bizarre thing to be in a Minions movie that it's shocking you didn't do something funny with it. So I still don't think the humor of these movies is incredible or anything. A lot of it's pretty basic. I wasn't really laughing. I was thinking like, oh, that's cute, or I like that reference. And by the end, I was legitimately smiling, but I was not laughing. I still feel it's very much for kids, but this one can be appreciated and enjoyed by adults a lot more than some of the other ones. They even say the word bastard. One of the minions just gets called a bastard in the Maltese Falcon scene, and I didn't know they could say that. So I'm surprised how much I've kind of warmed to the Minions. I used to be very cynical towards them. I mean, for one, the movies were worse. Around the time that the first Minions film came out, it was just really bad. So seeing these things everywhere across pop culture, it was hard not to kind of look down on them as just these annoying little things. And when they're in bad movies, they can definitely be annoying. But when they're in the good ones, I kind of have warmed up to them. And just in general, as characters, I have. I was always kind of annoyed that they overshadowed Megamind 16 years ago, because nothing Illumination has ever made is anywhere near as good as Megamind. And yet Despicable Me has gone on to have 75 movies, and Megamind just has the one. Don't act like Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate or whatever exists. I know I just said the title of it, but no, it doesn't exist. There's just the one Megamind, so at least it's untarnished. But it was always a little annoying that Despicable Me overshadowed it, but I'm willing to let bygones be bygones and forgive. I don't think they should make any more Despicable Me unless they get an amazing idea, because those movies got way worse over time. Steep decline. But Minions is on an upswing. They're just actually getting better with each movie. So if you want to do more Minions, you could put them in any time period. Continuity, lore, none of that matters. None of it has been consistent. None of it has to be consistent. Nobody cares. So just put them anywhere. Technically, we still don't know for sure that there were no minions involved in World War II. There might have been. We don't know for sure. This movie establishes that there were many groups of minions throughout the world doing their own things, so it's on the table. And I can't believe I'm saying that. Like, you could do more minions and I would probably watch it. But yeah, I'm saying that. I don't think this is a great film. I didn't love it. I think people are overselling it a bit. But for a kids movie, it's very solid. It has some nice stuff in there for adults. Its heart is in the right place, and it just feels good after watching so many of those other ones and being irritated. I was actually watching quite a few Illumination movies recently, some of the ones that I had never seen, and I had to tap out. I just gave up in the middle of one because I was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot with this studio. And just seeing how bad it could be. I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment, and I don't really mean it as one. I'm just saying, like, this is better than many people think it's going to be. I don't outwardly, like, recommend it. Dude, you gotta go see Minions and Monsters. But if you like these movies, I think this is one of the better ones. And it's solid. It's a fine kids movie. I thought it was quite cute. So where do we go next with the Minions? I have no idea. I saw somebody on Twitter say it's shocking that they haven't introduced a girl Minion. And that's so true. You'd think that would have happened by now. Like, when you have no ideas for another movie, that's the thing you do. You introduce a girl, a Smurfette, you know? But they haven't done that. They have to eventually, right? Are the Minions boys? Technically, they all have boy names, but, like, I don't know if they work that way. So I get... Maybe they're like toads who, according to Nintendo, don't have genders. Whatever. I don't think that's something I really need to think that deeply about, actually. I'm just going to stop right now. These were all my opinions on Minions and Monsters. Leave yours down in the comments. If you enjoyed it more than the rest of this franchise, I don't know if it's my favorite because I still think the Minions work better as side characters, so I still might put like the original Despicable Me at the top. But it's certainly up there as one of the best. If you didn't like it, whatever you thought about all the references and the comedy and the monsters and everything, let's chat about Minions down in the comments below. What do you want to see next? Where do you want this to go? Should they bring back Gru or any of these other characters? Leave all your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time.